Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Coaching Conversations. Today, we are speaking about how you can improve your conversion rate in 3 easy ways. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Coaching Conversations. We are back on board after our Easter break. And we're talking today about improving your conversion rate. So if you struggle making sales or getting people over the line, then Nick's got some conversion rate gold lined up for you. Nick, how's things going this morning?
Oh, very good. I'm relaxed, a little bit suntan from yesterday's picnic, but it's been really, really good. Good to hang out. And man, public holidays always go past like this. I think
Mm.
time speeds up for whatever reason. And now in Sydney, as you know, New South Wales, we're back to no daylight savings, which I don't like it. But hey, I've had to put up with it since September this year. So hey, it's all good. Other than that, rip roaring and ready to rumble.
Awesome, good. Right, so like I said at the beginning, there are people that we've worked with that we definitely come in contact with through our strategy calls and so on that struggle with conversion rates, and they might do everything right all the way up into having that conversation. We see it a lot in the trades where people are sending out, hundreds potentially of quotes a year and not really seeing the conversion on the back end of doing that. So they're working very hard to generate leads, have conversations, do quotes or proposals, not necessarily gaining the traction in terms of sales conversion that they would like. So what advice do you have? What are your top 3 ways of being able to convert better or sell better or get people over the line?
Yeah, look, I think that's a common occurrence with a lot of businesses, regardless of where you're at, right? And regardless of what type of business they have. Today with social media, advertising, and radio and TV and a whole bunch of other stuff. I think that there's really good opportunities for businesses, and they can reach a wider audience. However, I think what's going on there is it's good to reach a lot of people and to get lead flow and inquiry through. But how good are the people that you're reaching? How good is that inquiry? And as there's different segments of people that ready now and others that are just kicking tires, so to speak, now, right? So I've sort of come up with 3. There's probably 30, but I'm just going to come up with 3 that I think would definitely see a better conversion happening for businesses.
Sure.
Number 1 is I believe it's really important to refine your message. Message makes the difference between attracting somebody that's a $500,000 buyer for your mid-tier builder to the $1 million buyer that if you're a high-end resi builder as an example, to hey, if you're just a commercial buyer, if you're just want 2 switches put in versus a whole warehouse done, to all of these different things, right? And what I mean about the message is I believe it's important to do it to attract your ideal client. And here's what I mean. There's a lot of people that most businesses can help. Everybody lives in some type of house, but do you want to attract, the person that doesn't have money that wants a 500 grand house built for 150 grand? And the answer is no. And once again, if you're looking for a granny flat at 100,000, do you really want to advertise to people that their average home is 5 million? And the answer is probably not, because the same thing goes the other way. If you own a 5 million to $10 million home in Sydney, which today it's not not an extravagant on the harbour, because the harbour's 20 million. It's not like you're putting a granny flat in there. You don't need the money. And but with parents, you probably buy them an apartment just to do that, right? So
Yeah.
you see what I mean? So it's about really refining the message. Now, how do you do that? Well, you got to test it. You got to throw it out there and start to see, what type of person that you're going to get back through that message. And I always think about it like this. There's 3% of people that you're advertising to that are pretty much ready. So the message obviously needs to be addressed to them. As an example, if are you a family of 4 looking at upgrading into a new, brand new home, found a, really good location, or are you looking at maybe, developing your existing home, knocking that down and starting with a new one? See, I'll refine the message. Are you a family for? Have you got an existing property that you're looking at redoing? Or possibly are you a family of four looking for a home and land package? So that could be, some of our people that are in rural areas, or interstate in New South Wales or in Queensland, or wherever our clients are, Victoria, right? So do you see, I've kind of shifted the emphasis onto family of four. Now, if that's my target audience, because they're the people that go, hey, the house is expanding, the kids are getting older, we need a bit more space than when they were babies, as an example. See, I've refined the message. You could even refine the message down to, while your kids are getting older, they're in high school now and just need more space to study. Now, it's got nothing to do with the home, but technically it has, right? But I am targeting people like that, because most people, if they're new homeowners, usually they're probably going to be pre-kids, right? Then they have kids. There's, the babies don't take up that much space, but as they get older, like my kids are getting older, 12 and 15, they're going to need their own space, in 2 years. My son's 17, so he's like, dude, when are we building the
when are we doing the
studio
extension
on top of the garage? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
But, they don't want to hang out in their little rooms anymore. So
Yeah.
once again, and then I think that there's 35% of people that need a little bit of a push. So 5%, 3 to 5% are ready. Hey, cool, well, you pop up, boom, and that's going to increase your conversion rate. But there's a 35% that you really need to speak to. Have you got this problem? Have you got this problem? Have you got this problem? And we've got these solutions that match that problem. So once again, refining the message, 35% are there. They just need a little bit more, connection and communication for them to really feel like they're moving forward, right? So, and if you do that, great. And then 65%, you're not going to, doesn't matter what you do, they're not even aware of you and or not ready. And a lot of business owners are getting the 35% and a portion of the 65%, just kicking tires. And the 3%, they're not dialed in enough to go, hey, that's exactly what I'm after. Boom. Because most people buy on emotion, they just don't buy on logic. If we all bought on logic, there's a lot of shit that we wouldn't buy. Most people just go, yeah, I really like that person. His website looked awesome. I'd go with him. Not credentials, not, how awesome it is. You see what I mean? So I think that's important.
Okay, so really get your message right to attract the right type of client that you're trying to serve.
Correct. That's going to increase the conversion significantly.
Very mumuch so. Yes. And it makes more sense when you break it down, because a lot of people might be selling to, let's call it, the vast majority of their audience, but the people that they're speaking with could fall into that 60% group where they're just not ready to buy and won't be ready to buy for the next 2-3 years.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've been reading this masterpiece, right? And it says, keep on connecting with the people that, you're in top 100. So top 100 to me equals ideal client, doesn't it? It's not top 50,000, top 100, right? So it's the same construct, right? Number 2 is, I believe that it's about refining the offer. So you've refined the message. It's really important to refine the offer. And here's what I mean. If you look at anything on eBay as an example, if I'm buying a pair of glasses as an example, if you got the same pair of glasses, but one photo looks really good, just makes these look amazing. It's positioned well, good background. They really hone in with the 4K kind of digital stuff that makes the glasses look pretty amazing. The frames, shows different angles of the frames and all of that type of stuff. And then you've got another one that, it looks like it's just been done on a, iPhone with grease all over the camera, right? You know which one's going to win. So the offer is being refined. And what I mean by offer is, first of all, what makes somebody actually begin the process and be motivated enough to, reach out or to opt in or to go, hey, that's definitely a good offer. And here's what, as an example. So, we've worked with businesses that we said, your offer, instead of it being 7 years of guarantee, make it a lifetime guarantee. And a lifetime sounds amazing. Now, there's some little asterisks, and that's as long as you live in the home. And usually most people are probably 10 years in the home. So, and most stuff is covered under manufacturer's warranty for about 7 years anyway. And the worst possible thing that can happen is, you get a leak in the bathroom, you got to jackhammer all the tiles up and start again. And that doesn't happen anymore. If you've got really good waterproofers and stuff, the roof doesn't collapse, or, any of that stuff. So, but what makes it more attractive? If you're the everyday consumer, one goes lifetime guarantee and one goes 7 years. I know which way we're going straight away, right? Not even a hesitation, because people see value in that. So your offer needs to show value. And here's one as an example. Today, when they go, you got a 5% discount or a 3% discount, on clothes, 3%, you're like, nah, eBay gives me that if that's what I want. Why would I go to the shop, catch a train, do the parking, do all of that? It's not worth it. Have you noticed most of the times everything's on sale all the time now? It's very rarely that you go, there's no sale on. So once again, they're refining the offer. But most importantly, this is the key that I'm talking about, to increase the conversion rate, increase the motivation for someone to do it. As an example, some of our bathroom guys are advertising that you get $1,200 in-floor heating as a part of it, like as a part of the offer if you go ahead with a bathroom. That's pretty significant. In-floor heating. I mean, it's practical. It works great for winter. It's very common today. People like not a freezing floor in winter or whatever. And we don't get ridiculously cold, but there are places that get pretty cold, right? So that is of good value. Things like, hey, we'll help you move out of your home and set you up in an apartment for 6 months if we're building a house. And when you really think about that, you can get some really good deals from an agent that goes, hey, it's a short-term 6-month lease. It's $500 a week, times 20, it's $10,000-15,000. When you're building a $750,000 house, to spend 15 grand on that, and they're giving you 750 grand. I don't know about you, but your competitors aren't even thinking that way. To move somebody, save all the hassle, get the removalists, put them up in an apartment. No other builder's going to be thinking like that, but in that 15 grand, you can increase that probably into the margins. It's just really convenient, very motivating as an offer to go, hey, while we're building, they're actually looking after us. You could get deals with furniture removals, deals with apartments, all of this type of stuff. If you went to someone and said, hey, we're going to rent your house for 6 months on Airbnb, people are going, yeah, we'll it's 6 months guaranteed. So they'll drop the price down. And, if it's, I don't know, $75 a day, $100 a day, and you get it for $70 a day times 7 days is $490 a week, $500 a week for 6 months. You've killed it. Does that make sense? So refine the offer is really, really, really important. What makes it attractive?
Right. Some people listening to this may need to dial up their offer a little bit. And what I mean by that is, like you said, make it more attractive, but, put the wow factor into it. Like you just said, for builders or custom home builders that would pay for your rent, or at least put you into an Airbnb for 6 months while they build your home. That's a wow factor offer. So it doesn't have to be, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 wow factor things. It could just be one wow factor thing. You also mentioned, the underfloor heating in the bathrooms. That's a wow factor offer that people are getting as a result of buying a bathroom off your client. So just dial up the offer, meaning give it some more wow factor and make it more attractive so that you're standing above the competition.
It's interesting because people feel that I'm going to lose money. It's too much to give away. You just have to get really clever with doing it, right? Because you can make it look very, very attractive without it costing you money. When you really think about it, let's say in-floor heating, if it's valued at $1,200, we're probably going to get it at $700, give or take. And $700 on a $15,000 bathroom, when you really think about it, is 5%. If you're making a margin of 35% and you're happy to give away 5% to get the 30%, it's still a massive level of profitability. Now, I'm talking that's a massive offer. That's an attractive offer. You could do things like maybe, an electrical upgrade. It could be a heating upgrade. So you get on one of those IXLs and make it a bigger one. Well, might be an extra $100 or something like that. But for somebody that goes, oh, you know, they're going to put a downlight in there, an IXL in there. I don't have to pay extra for the electrical. It's all a part of it. Well, that's a good thing, right? And you can get creative. I mean, you know, for us, we go, hey, come and do a strategy session. It doesn't cost us, I mean, it costs me money per se because you guys are employed to do that, or I do it, but it's not necessarily that I'm having to pitch out thousands of dollars to do it, but the value is good. It's $1,000 worth of session. Usually it's 2 coaches on board. Very, very good, you know, connection, very good takeaways that people can apply and implement. I mean, I know we were talking, Chris, one of the clients that just came on with us in the strategy session a few months ago, you gave him 1 or 2 things to do. He applied that and closed like thousands of dollars in business and loved it so much that now he's joined us. So do you see it's of good value and a good offer? That's how I think about it. So from a conversion point of view, if you've got the right offer in front of somebody and they see value and they're motivated enough just to connect with you, you know, reach out, connect, you know, do all of that stuff, well, it's a good thing, you know. And it's the same like even with our magazine. We could go, hey, you just get a copy of a digital magazine. Instead, one of our offers on Facebook and Insta is to go, no, we actually send you a hard copy of that magazine. You know, it's in your hand so you can touch it, feel it. It's a real magazine. So to me, that's a pretty awesome offer, and they get that for free. No postage, no handling. We look after it. So I think it's of good value. And considering how many opt-ins we've had, I think they must think it's of good value as well.
You know? Yeah, very good. Okay, cool. So get the offer right and refine that if needed. Number 3, what's the third point that you've got loaded?
This is a massive gold mine, to be brutally honest, you know. And I think 99% of businesses aren't that good at it. The third one is in follow-up. You know, most people only touch the surface. Here's an example. And they get an inquiry, they speak to that inquiry, they set up a quote, they send the quote, and then there's no follow-up. You know, or 2 weeks later, hey, they haven't heard from them, they give them a call. Hey, did you get our quote? You know, sometimes they'll connect, maybe not even call, send them an email, and, you know, no wonder they're not getting to where they need to get to. And, you know, we've seen a lot with clients that have, you know, driving hundreds of leads a month, converting less than 2%, you know, very low conversion, literally not making any money because the marketing's cost them that. So, and the reason being is over 75% of businesses give up after the second or third connection. So, you know, they've connected, hey, you know, how can we help you? Connected, yeah, we'll come out and check it out. Connected, hey, we'll give you a quote, and that's about it. On average, it takes between 10 to 12 connections, give or take, today to do it. But if you just connected that 1 or 2 more, you've already gone past 75% of the people with that. So really, you know, we think about it that, you know, the best word that I like to use or sentence is the fortunes and the follow-up, or the fortunes and the follow-through. And the truth of the matter is some people just aren't ready yet. Other people are going to be ready, but they just needed to test you out to go, you know, does this person really want my business? Does this person really connect? And here's a perfect example. I've just advertised for a drafts person to come, and I just used High Pages just as a quick thing. You know, one guy reaches out, yeah, cool. 2 hours before, sorry, had a plumbing emergency, didn't hear from him, right? And I gave him a week's notice to come. All right, shit happens, I get it. But still haven't heard anything from him. Another person reaches out, sends me a proposal. They haven't even come to my place, gives me a proposal, you know, haven't really heard from him. Got to think. Third person reaches out a week later and goes, oh, let me give you a proposal. So I send him the details, sends everything back. I'll let you know on Tuesday. So this is 3 so-called professionals that are doing it. Once again, who's going to follow through? Will this person that was supposed to come, yeah, mate, I'll make sure I'm there. So do you want to follow up? No, mate, I'm good. An hour before, oh, sorry, I'm not coming. You know, like, is this person going to do it? Now, you know, if he doesn't get in contact with me today or tomorrow, well, I pretty much know that that person isn't going to be the right person for me, you know. And once again, you've got to think about that. So follow-up is massively underutilized. And most people, they're super busy and, you know, shit happens. And I think, Chris, we've experienced this many a time in this company. Something that you've said, we set it all up, we're all cool, but there isn't a system, or there isn't a way for us to really connect and follow them up. Like we've got, we drive five leads plus a day just on Facebook. Have we got a system? And we do. There's emails that go out, follow-up system. Hey, did you receive the magazine? If not, we send out the magazine. We're following up, calling them.
Yep.
All of that needs to be designed. And I think for people, they should take away before you start advertising to ensure that you've got a pretty good conversion rate. Make sure that follow-up system is kind of set up. Who's going to do it? What does it look like? Have you allocated some time towards it? Does it need to be externalized? Can it be systemized? Can it be automated? All of these things I think need to be taken into consideration, because a lot of people unfortunately spend a shitload of money on lead acquisition, but then they just let it die. And people 35% plus are ready to do stuff. They just need that nudge. I'm ready to go with the draftsman. Come over, have a look at it, give me a quote, and I'm going to pick someone out of these 3 or 4. Like, it's not, I'm thinking about it in 6 months. I'm like, I'm ready. But, that's typical of how people respond. And that's why, interesting enough, and this is a selfish plug, but every time our clients work with us here at UpCoach, the feedback that we keep on getting back over and over and over and over again is how good the clients have been in getting back to their clients, and their clients give them reviews and testimonials to go, it felt so relaxed. It was so professional. I felt very nurtured. You were very qualified. All of these things we hear, and same with us, 55-star reviews almost, right? So there must be something that we're doing correct. So, and you don't have to be genius. You really don't. It's 75 to 85% of people aren't even doing that. So if you're just one notch up, you're already in the top 10 to 15% echelon.
That's right. And I just want to touch on that follow-up process. I think that's the big point here. If you don't have a follow-up or a nurture cycle or process or timeline or step by step of what you do after you've sent a quote, that's what needs to be designed here. So, Nick Strike, the fortune is in the follow-up. I've seen it multiple times with different clients. But if you're struggling with what that actually means or what you need to do, it's ultimately deciding what does the timeline look like, and during that timeline, it could be a week, it could be a month, it could be 6 months. What interactions are you going to have with that prospect or the person you've given the quote to over that 6-month period? Are you going to send them emails? Are you going to give them a phone call? Are you going to send them something in the post? Are you going to arrange another face-to-face conversation? And how many times are you going to do that? That's what a follow-up process looks like. And it can be very easily done, like drawn on paper, and then use the same process for every single quote or proposal that you actually send out.
I think you're right. It's about designing a sales machine at the end of the day. And by the way, anybody watching this or listening, don't overcomplicate it. It doesn't need to be that. If you just picked up the phone and called somebody after you went with the quote, took the quote to that person, took a little bit of time, and I get it, time's always tough, so you got to figure it out, right? Went out on a weekend and saw him, went out after hours and saw him, followed him up the next week, followed him up again, sent them a list of client reviews, gave them a number for them to call. All of these are really powerful tools that you don't have to be that intelligent. You just have to actually connect one more or 2 more or 3 or 4 more times. That's about it. It's like that. Some people just aren't ready at the moment.
I think it's just a game of persistence. And,
it's a game of persistence.
Just got to just keep going at it and at it. And the follow-up, it's not, sorry?
I didn't think it was, but it truly is. Some people's, I love the bumper sticker, right? Shit happens. It does. You're not the only person that they're thinking of, even though that they need that product or want to buy that product, unless it's kind of, emergency. Think about it. If you fall over and you break your arm, you're 100% thinking about, I need to get to a doctor, call ambulance, go to hospital, get
Yeah.
it fixed up, right? 100%.
Yeah.
There's no other thought process in your mind. But, you building a pergola or, I don't know, buying a new car, unless it's drastically there that you need to 1,000,000% have that car or else it's going
Yeah.
to be detriment, like it can wait a little bit. And then sometimes stuff happens like your daughter or your son or your wife or your husband or your friend breaks an arm. So, that sort
Mm.
of just gets put on the back burner. So you've
Mm.
got to cater for that. And I'm not talking about the 3%. The 3% are ready to go. You should be targeting them first. It's called low-hanging fruit. It's the
Yeah.
people after that. So.
Yeah, right. Very good. All right. So run through those three again, Nick. If you're struggling with conversion or converting any form of client, whether you're a service-based business, you sell a specific product, online, offline, it doesn't really matter. Roll us through those top 3 points again, Nick.
Yeah, number one, I think it's refine the message. Really, really important. Get clear about who your avatar is and what message you're trying to get to. Number two is refine the offer. How do you make it absolutely motivating for them to, press send and send you their details or connect or call or SMS you, email you, whatever it may be, right? Come into your showroom, whatever it may be. And number three, I think the fortune is in the follow-up. Just get busy designing a sales machine follow-up that can just connect with people, like you said, Chris, whether it's SMS, email, call, letter, go and visit them, send them a pigeon with a, thing on its leg, whatever. Old school, right?
That's right.
Just pigeon mail, right?
Pigeon mail
figure it
with
out.
a branded leg tag. Or
Yeah. So have the Zeppelin playing with the thing behind it. Hey, do you want to buy my house?
That's right.
And you don't have to be that amazing just to do it this much better than everybody else. So.
That's exactly right. Guys, if you need help with a follow-up process, follow-up cycle, nurture timeline, whatever you want to call it, you can reach out to us at askupcoach.com.au. We'll help you design one. So if you're really struggling with this, you're watching this, listening to this, and you need help because your conversions aren't there or you want to know more about follow-up timelines, give us a call or reach out to us at askupcoach.com.au. Thank you so much for your time today, Nick.
Hey, all good, man.
We'll catch you all again on the next episode of Coaching Conversations. Bye now.
See you later.